11-22. Paul, Craig, they've done what they're supposed to do. 27-10 at one point. They had a couple of things. You wondered if they were going to call the game too tight, a lot of ticky-tack calls, but eventually they blow this thing open.
Yeah, and it hasn't been that way in the second half. They only called 4 fouls on Baylor early on. They got their new NCAA whistles, and they were using them. They were using them well. I would like to point out, Smokey, and I need you to admit this to the general viewing public. Who did I tell you was going to be the leading scorer today? 2 things. You said Matthew Meyer, but you also said he was going to score 45 points.
Yeah,
they haven't needed him to, but he scored 22, and he's the leading scorer for Baylor as it stands right now. And Jeremy Sohan was have to score 7 to equal him in the last few minutes. I just want to brag about prediction when I do, but we've seen what we thought we'd see, and the real test is going to come between the winner of Marquette and North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to do, like you guys have said. I mean, winning by 33 points right now. So that's all you can ask for is a layup type of a first-round win. And they got one today, or about to have one polished off here. And I agree. I'm glad that the officiating loosened up a little bit in the second half, because that was just a bad start. I mean, whistles flying right out of the gates, and I know for me, I even turned to you, I was like, Is this supposed to be exciting? Like, this first round NCAA tournament game, and I turned to you guys like halfway through the first half and was like, is this supposed to be exciting? All these, because it wasn't. So I'm glad that they've been able to free it up and loosen it up a little bit. Nobody's, tuning in to watch officials, that's for sure. But yeah, Baylor's done their job. Kudos to Matthew Meyer, and everybody on the team's got a bucket today except for Zach Loveday. He's the only one that hasn't scored just yet. So maybe they can get him one in the last 140 and get everybody a bucket in an NCAA tournament. But it has been cool to see them being able to empty their bench and get everybody involved and get an opportunity to say, hey, I played in the NCAA tournament. So I think it's pretty cool.
And Zach Loveday's on the line right now, so we'll see how that goes. I just realized this. This is the first time the three of us in all this time of working together have been able to cover a men's game all at the same time.
Yeah, because last year was the shutdown. Yeah. I was in Indianapolis throughout the last 2 weekends, and then the year before that, there was no tournament. So, again, we're on camera. We love that those of you have already popped on the YouTube channel. We appreciate that. And thanks again to Charlie Guerin, the owner of Smokehouse, Railhead Smokehouse Barbecue. You cannot imagine how efficient it is, and how where we are compared to the arena. I mean, seriously, it's just fantastic. And Jordan Turner just hit a long 3, got a little nice roll off the rim. It's now 84-47 Baylor with just over a minute left. Earlier today, Michigan beat Colorado State. There were thoughts that maybe Michigan shouldn't be in the tournament. I saw a stat earlier this week about teams that kind of get shamed a little bit and how good they are, their record. A 75-63 win. Providence, another team a lot of people thought with South Dakota State would move right through them. 66-57, Providence, the number 4 seed. They win. We'll update the other games going on here momentarily. But the good news about today is they took care of business. They handled their business. They took care of business. They're up by a bunch at halftime, 16, and they blow it open. A lot of people get to play, and believe me, that's going to help because this team's bench is not deep, and they will be pushed much more, as you can imagine, in what is the next game between Marquette and North Carolina. So we will have some of the post game. We will also have a player on. It's going to be a while, but we will do that. But we want to hear from you as well. And if you call, get in. Tell us what you think, even though I know the game's not over, and who you thought or what you thought were the biggest differences other than Baylor doing what they should do. Scotty B, not only that we needed this bounce-back win, glad to see the backups in. Richmond pushing Iowa, giving Iowa a hell of a fight from Chris. And Chris also, I know the competition isn't stellar, but Tennessee looks strong. They're hammering Longwood with 54 points they've scored at halftime. Scotty B, I hope Marquette and North Carolina go overtime. Obviously, with that game as well. There's a picture of Homer Drew on the site, on the game broadcast on as well on TBS.
Also, soon to be international superstar Karen Craig. Once the
Ode to Joy gets out there among it all. Bob Williams popped on. Dang, I'm early. I'm going to be back a little bit later on. We have some. I know that in the back, there's when you walk in the door, you go off to the left, you get in line, you order your barbecue, your ribs, your brisket, whatever you want, sausage, anything you want. And then there's a bar that's over there, and a lot of people watching the games at the bar. And then you walk in, and there's another section, and then you see the one behind us. And we have had, I got to tell you, throughout the week, a lot of people who have said that as soon as the game is over, they're going to come down here, and we hope you do, and we hope to be able to get you on. We are going to have a wireless mic for you if you want to walk up
it's wired, but
a wired mic to say what you want and give us your opinion, your feedback on the game itself. Flo Thamba's parents were at the game today. First time they've watched him play in person. How cool is that in the college level? That's amazing. That's an incredible story, and he's had a nice game. He's in double figures. Was last time I looked, he had 12, I think 14 points, so that's good as well, down to the last minute. And, hey, by the way, Norfolk State, early on, they've had a couple of moments as well. They've won 24 games for the second consecutive year, and they, again, are in their second NCAA appearance. And so I like that there was nothing trashy. There was no chippy stuff. It was just a good basketball game with the better team, more talented team, winning the game on their way to winning this game here momentarily.
Yeah, it was a good game. Baylor got to do pretty much everything they wanted to do and get everybody in, which is, I think, probably the goal of this first game. It's going to be different, though. They can't, I don't want to say they played a little looser in the first half because they got in foul trouble. If they get in the same kind of foul trouble they got in the first half again on Saturday, that's going to be a problem. Adam Flagler was out of the game,
like 3 minutes into the game
because of two tight fouls. And if they're going to call it that way on Saturday, that's going to be a problem. They need Flagler for as many minutes as they can get Flagler out of. I mean, they've got to have him down the stretch. And when you've seen the games that Baylor has lost this year, there's one of two things that happens quite often: either Flagler is shut out or Akinjo is shut out, or at least shut down to a point. And if either one of those guys is shut down, it's going to be a problem for them to get back to the Final Four like they were in last year.
Well, because of those who can shoot the three and the ones you depend on. Akinjo and Flagler, 6 of 12 today. Flagler and Akinjo, 4 of 10 outside the arc, but Meyer 4 of 7, 11 for 27 as a team. Sohan 2 for 4, and that is a good sign as they move into the next round against Marquette or North Carolina. Dickey's Arena, by the way, is fantastic. It's not a really large place. It's a multi-facility. They have the livestock and all of that, those type of shows. Baylor wins at 85-49. That is a final. They did what they had to do to move into the second round. But it's gorgeous. It's got a lot of concourse underneath. You don't even get to see it. Great treatment. We appreciate Mark Cohen, who is TCU's media relations director. He was the guy that kind of runs the show from TCU as they host it. And it's a really nice, cozy place. It really, really is. And so we look forward to getting back there on Saturday, no matter, and we don't know the time, but no matter who they play, North Carolina and Marquette will tip here in about 20 minutes or so.
I will state again, the policy is you cannot put anonymous on the phone calls or I will have to drop you.
No, we don't, and it's not because of our system from here, is it?
No.
Okay.
It's not.
The number, again, 254-339-1122. There's some NFL notes we'll get to involving the Cowboys, the Browns, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, not maybe what the information on him yet, Cole Beasley, and an update on Brittany Griner and her detention in Russia that's been extended now for a couple of more months. We'll have that for you as well. Baylor 85-49, that is a final. And Matthew Meyer led the way with 22, 14 from Thamba, 15 Sohan, also in double figures, Flagler and Akinjo 11 and 10. And Baylor again they emptied the bench with whatever they have. And it's even great to see as well that Austin Sachs got the chance to play. The young man from Encino, California, entered the game, the sophomore. So they emptied everything, whatever they have on the bench. One of the known moments about the game, I saw Jonathan Chama-Chachua, who's behind the bench because he's had that gruesome knee injury. And you just sit there and you watch him. And he still has this happiness on his face, but you just wonder where they would be, not to get into the injuries, but just you feel for the guy, because feel for him because of how much he loved to play the game.
Yeah, and look, obviously this team is completely different rotationally if he's there because of what he can do and the kind of different things. Flo Thamba has a different job if he's there. Although, looking down the line, if Flo Thamba can use his COVID year and come back, and Jonathan Chama-Chachua can overcome this knee injury, you're looking down the line to next year, that's a very formidable duo to have now that Flo Thamba's kind of realized the full breadth of his superpowers and is playing really, really well. So that's optimistic down the line. But yeah, you'd really feel for Jonathan Chama-Chachua because he is the Energizer Bunny of this team. You can't just replace that with want to, it's just something you have, and they've been able to overcome it so far. But yeah, it changes the team completely.
Yeah, well, you guys saw. I mean, Norfolk State getting a lot underneath. I mean, and that was a little bit of a concern, I think, when you're moving into the next round, and you're going to be facing teams that have got much more talented overall bigs, most likely, and some teams you may run into, they got a couple, and I think that the lack of a JTT. Flo Thamba's going to do all he can do, and everybody's going to do all they can do. But, yeah, I mean, he's a guy you wish you had, obviously. And we'll see if that doesn't, become maybe one of those areas of concern or an issue as the tournament moves along. But, yeah, I thought Norfolk State was getting some pretty easy baskets and putbacks that they're going to have to clean up, because if they do that against North Carolina or Marquette, that could be much more costly.
Games that are going on in